I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Hope everybody's having a good Monday. Got a little bit of a informative update for you today for LSU. Brian Kelly took the podium, gave us a few tidbits of information. We'll do our usual SEC grades. Good weekend of college football. A lot to talk about, a lot to reflect on. We'll react to our top 3 picks of the week segment from Friday with G Sports, and we'll talk a little Saints football. If you got any questions, you got any comments, got any concerns, anything on your mind, drop them in the chat. We'll get to that throughout the stream. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button for more SEC and LSU football news and updates. Without further ado, Garrett Nussmeier, SEC Offensive Player of the Week honors. Shout out Nussbus. Whit Weeks, SEC Defensive Player of the Week honors. And Braden Swinson got SEC D Lineman of the Week honors. By the way, that's Swinson's third SEC honor of the season. He's got damn near half the awards. Great effort Saturday, straight up. We'll reflect a little bit more on it here in the SEC grades segment, but real quick, I just kind of wanted to recap the LSU Ole Miss game. Must Tim. We got to soak it all in while you can. When you have a moment like that, you just want to smell the roses a little bit, and I understand, but you can't get too caught up. You can't be like Alabama after a Georgia win and have Vandy come around and sneak you when LSU's on the road to Arkansas. You got back-to-back road games, too. When you get done with Arkansas, the next week you're on the road against A&M. Two very tough environments. Arkansas, of course, had the bye week last week, beat Tennessee in a neutral game site. So, I mean, yeah, they're dangerous. They're dangerous, simply put. I don't think LSU should overlook them. Injury update for LSU. C.J. Daniels, according to Brian Kelly, has a really good chance of being back for the Razorback game on Saturday. Chris Hilton Jr. will be considered day-to-day. They're going to continue to work and monitor on his recovery period. All in all, though, I feel like LSU, they're trending on the way up. It's kind of hard not to get excited. You're the number 8 team in the country. You got a big win. We've been talking on the show really all season. You got to cash in on Ole Miss or Bama. You got to win one of them. If you want a chance to somehow be bid and get a seed in the college football playoff, you got to win one of your top SEC games, and they did it. They did it. They won South Carolina. They won Ole Miss. LSU's in a situation now where not only you're undefeated in SEC play, but you can move forward and continue to add momentum. This really isn't the best LSU football that we could see because they had a slow game. They didn't lead at all until the final moment, until K2 walked it off in overtime. So obviously LSU can improve. Obviously LSU can get better. Brian Kelly noted how the team has a lot of experience, dating back to the 2022 season when they had an overtime win over Alabama, inevitably made it to the SEC championship game. He's kind of making a nod, saying, hey, this team can maybe even push past that. This team might even have a little more oomph behind them. They've been through it. They know what it looks like. I mean, do they need assistance at times in certain areas and certain position groups? Of course, but you're at the midpoint of the season feeling really good. Naturally, one of the improvements that you want to see from LSU, the running game. It's not like it's not coming together, but it's having its rough patches here. I mean, you got one of the best offensive lines. They've been exceptional in pass blocking. Garrett Nussmeier was clean once again this weekend against the toughest defense that LSU could potentially play all year. Garrett Nussmeier was able to really doctor up the defense. Yeah, he had his growing pains, but in the end, when he needed to get it done, he got it done. Led LSU to a game-tying drive. Obviously led LSU to the game-winning drive in overtime. I think going forward, you get your health back on that wide receiver spot, and the running game can somehow, some way just find their groove. LSU is going to be dangerous on offense, and it could look a lot like what we saw last year. Last point before we get into our SEC grades, defense did a complete 180. You got to just sit here and clap your hands for Blake Baker, for Whit Weeks, for Greg Penn, for everybody. Zy Alexander. I mean, we just want to keep rattling off names. Braden Swinson, Savion Jones. Major Burns got in the action and got some sacks. Everybody had a role in Saturday's win. Everybody balled. Everybody was flying around. You had moments that worried you at first. Obviously, you had a huge run by Bentley on Ole Miss's side. Whit Weeks almost left the game because of a targeting call. Yeah, you had your holds in a couple of different spots, but all in all, the defense showed up. 6 sacks on a really elusive, mobile quarterback, and they made their presence felt, kept LSU in the game the entirety of it. I mean, yeah, you're down, but you're forcing them to kick field goals. Sometimes they're missing them. It was one of those knock back and forth type games, and you can credit Blake Baker and that LSU defense for keeping you in a puncher's chance, and it worked out. LSU came to play. Let's open up our SEC grade segment. Who got the A? None other than the Tigers. Got to give it to them. They came to play, like we said, defense, complete 180, straight up nuts, look great, close the game out. And like we said, LSU's on the way up. I think you've got to start considering LSU as an SEC contender. I mean, yeah, you got a lot of big names at the front. You got Texas, Alabama, who, by the way, LSU plays in Tiger Stadium in the same environment, almost in the same situation. They're going to come off a bye. Anything's possible. If LSU knocks that one down, who's to say they're not the second name off that list right under Texas? I mean, yeah, you got a Georgia, a Tennessee. You can't really say Ole Miss anymore. LSU took care of South Carolina. There's a lot of things that they're showing you that makes you feel this is possible. As of right now, you're in the top 12, right? You can't mess up. You can't screw up. If you drop one, you'll probably drop out of it, and somehow, some way, by a stroke of luck, you'll be able to get back in. But like I said, I think you got to win against Alabama, and you can't drop anymore. Could you be a two-loss team getting in? Of course. It's just really going to have to depend at what point in the season it happens, who it happens, and how bad is it. If it's a close loss, then I guess it's an understandable situation, similar to Georgia and Bama. It's a tough team. You're on the road, this, that, the third. You got a lot of things that are going to keep Georgia afloat and having a chance. In LSU situation, if you lost at home to Alabama in a close game and you gave them a run for their money, I think maybe somehow, some way you could get lucky and get in there. But if you lose on the road to an Arkansas, an A&M, Oklahoma comes in and ends your season, that could be a blow. A very, very tough blow for LSU. So all in all, they're looking good. They're going to continue to have to stack days. And I think by the end of this season, we could be considering LSU for an SEC championship contention. Who got the B? I'll give it to Texas. And it's not to scoff at Texas' performance. They deserved an A. Can't give two A's. It's not how this segment works. I think LSU, with what they did on that comeback victory, like the fact that they didn't lead at all until the final second, it's hard to ignore that. It's hard not to reward that with the best grade possible. Why Texas got the B? Only because Oklahoma had a backup quarterback. We expected to win. We predicted it in our top three segment. We said Texas was going to win, but I said your safest bet could be Oklahoma plus 25. And boy, was it not safe. Oklahoma only scored 3 points in the first quarter. We did not expect that. I thought there'd be a little more juice in this game since it's a rivalry game. I figured Oklahoma would, come swinging a little bit, maybe have some emphasis. They were dead in the water the entire time. Texas ran away with that one, straight up. Who got the C? Alabama. Why? Did they get a W? Of course, yeah. But they let South Carolina stay in and have a chance when that game should have been over with. And then, quite frankly, if the offensive lineman doesn't catch that deflected pass from Lenora Sellers and bleeds half the damn clock left, what happens? Nobody knows. You could get into field goal range. You could tie the game. You could be going to overtime. You could be seeing another upset like LSU did to Ole Miss. I think Alabama could be in for a treat with this patch of the schedule. You still got guys like Tennessee left. Obviously, you still got LSU. You got some tough movers and shakers that you're going to have to play against, and you're showing that you're human. You lost to Vandy. Yeah, I'm not going to say you almost lost to South Carolina, but damn, did they have a chance. And everyone in the nation was waiting on it in that early morning spot. I think Alabama's got to hurry up, shake some things up. Kalen DeBoer, great coach. He's obviously had the team rolling. Jalen Milroe has his moments. I think the biggest thing you're going to need from this team is some purpose, right? You don't need anything else other than motivation, because at this point in the year, if you lose Alabama, might be all over with. If you lose, which is insane to think about. You just beat Georgia. You just almost looked like the best team in the country. You were number one for a week, and then it all just comes crashing down, and now we're considering, can Alabama even stay afloat? If they lose to LSU, you got problems. I think you got problems. Tennessee. I'm going to give them the D grade just because they went to overtime with Florida at home, and I'm not trying to give Florida, any disrespect, any flack. I'm just thinking that Florida's not that level of a program. Tennessee's top 10. They should be in a situation where they're performing well. They're losing to Arkansas. They're almost losing to other inferior teams. Simply put, Tennessee's the better team. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they're going to be able to grow from this, but they did not impress me, and I think they got one of the worst grades. F. Here we go. Let's get personal. Ole Miss, I got to give it to you. You collapsed. You led all game. That statistic is insane. LSU did not lead until the end. Still got out of there. They have 2 losses in October, and your college football playoff is about as murky can get. You can barely see hope for Ole Miss. I just don't see a world where they get in. I don't. I mean, you've already lost to a handful of teams that are going to kind of it's going to kill you, quite frankly. You still got teams left to play. Who knows if they drop another one? Jackson Dart obviously had his moment where he's looking down, hood covering his face, saying, we got to win out. Yeah, you got to win out, and it probably still won't be enough. I hate to break it to you. I think that Ole Miss might have just wrote a check that team, the coach, the program, the Grove, it all is not going to be able to cash. Ole Miss, a lot of talk. Number one transfer portal class. Lane Kiffin is an offensive mastermind. Jackson Dart's on a revenge tour. And it all crumbled. It all crumbled in Tiger Stadium. It all fell apart. They had it in their hands, and they collapsed at the end. I'm gonna have to give Ole Miss the F for this week because they should have had that game. Simply put. Real quick before we react to our top 3 games from Friday, I'm going to tell you about Happy Dad, our guys, the best hard taste and seltzer on the market. You know the drill. They're gluten-free, low in sugar, no artificial flavors, and you know where to get them. Rouse's, Walmart, Albertsons. We got a discount link in our description. Code Verdin15 gets you 15% off on their website. Go get some merch. Go get some cases. They got the tea. They got the hard seltzers, wild cherry, lemon lime, pineapple, watermelon, the teas, peach, original, lemon, blueberry. Stock up. Get ready because you got a 2-game road trip. You're going to be on the couch. You're going to be throwing a little pregame party, maybe some tailgates, pretending like you're about to get into the stadium, but you're going to be watching it from home, potentially, unless you're traveling. If you're traveling, shout out to you. But if you're at home, you know what to crack open and relax with during this game that hopefully LSU wins. We'll break it down more on Wednesday and Friday, but for right now, we got our top 3 game reaction segment. We've been doing good. This week, did not do so good. And we need a moment to explain. So Texas beat Oklahoma, right? Texas beat Oklahoma. And we thought Texas would win. So we're not necessarily picking wrong. But I have to give myself an X. Because we thought the value was not in minus 700 Texas money line because we're sane. We thought not to take the 14-point spread because we're sane. Or so we thought. It's a Red River rivalry. There's no way that it goes to a double-digit win. They won by almost 5 touchdowns. They won by almost 5 touchdowns. Hindsight's 20/20. Quinn Ewers, we thought he'd start slow. He did. He threw a pick. They did nothing with it. Nothing. They constantly did nothing with every single opportunity they had. And that pick was a straight-up L. Going forward, going to have to keep these moments in mind here. Oklahoma, they're having a little bit of a rough patch. And we talked prior to the season even starting on if them hiring Venables, extending him to that huge contract was worth it. You didn't really get to see much. Did he have a good little turnaround? Yeah. But we thought it was a premature, a little too overzealous contract extension, and the Oklahoma fans killed us for it. But at this point in the year, I think it's becoming a little clear. And this season is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Oklahoma has a gauntlet left to run through. Welcome to the SEC, Sooners. Ohio State, let's move into that game. We thought they would win outright. They played great. Slipped in the end. Literally slipped in the end. Wow. That was insanity. Both quarterbacks balled, though. Buckeyes didn't run as strong as we expected. Thought they'd have a little more juice on the ground. Quinshon Judkins, you got a lot of names. You got Henderson. You got all kind of people that you could really point to. The Buckeyes have been running havoc on the ground. It didn't work. 1-point loss on the road. I'm not going to say Oregon's the clear-cut Big Ten favorite, but you got some issues. Ohio State might not be the people or the team hoisting that trophy in the end of it. Imagine Oregon in their first year coming in to the Big Ten and taking it all. Imagine Texas coming into the SEC in their first year taking it all. These conference expansions are seeing some rapid results. If I do say so myself, they're turning up. They're turning up. Lastly, Colorado and Kansas State. It was as advertised. 2 4-quarter touchdowns by Colorado sealed the over. We picked Kansas State as a winner. We thought the safer pick was the over. Both of them hit. No rushing game from Colorado whatsoever. They can't get anything going. Every running back they have, it looks like he's running through mud. I'm sorry, it's not working out. The Wildcats ran all over them. It was a complete opposite effect. They ran for 200+. And, look, Colorado looked good. They got a little ways to go, and I wonder what happens because Shedur's going to leave. Obviously, Shiloh's probably going to leave. Travis Hunter's going to leave. You got a bunch of pieces missing. What happens with Deion? What happens with Colorado? Interesting storyline that we're going to continue to monitor. Real quick, we're going to wrap this thing up with some Saints talk. Saints fans, close your ears if you don't want to hear something you don't want to hear. I ain't going to lie. I think this season's over with. 4 games skid, right? But the importance of who's in those 4 games, I think, isn't being talked about enough. The NFC South doesn't look like the Saints division. They look like the third best team in it. They're a game away from being tied with the Panthers record. The Falcons and the Bucks, obviously they beat the Saints. I think the Bucks had a way better game. The Falcons and the Saints kind of kept it close. Falcons didn't have much offensive scoring production. Obviously, Kirk threw for 500. But this matchup, good night. The defense just got obliterated. In the beginning, it was working out. Baker was throwing picks. The Bucks went up 17-0. Spencer Rattler and the Saints climbed back. It's looking like their game by halftime. In the second half, it got right back to a Bucks game. 600 total yards offense for the Bucks, even with the 3 turnovers. The Saints are fighting for their life in a division left. All your season left, you're struggling. You're trying to keep your head above water. You're trying to stay afloat. I just don't know if they can do it. I have one question that I want to ask the audience. If you want to chime in, go ahead. I just want to know, does Spencer Rattler offer an appealing alternative to Derek Carr? Despite the loss, can down the road Derek Carr be challenged by Spencer Rattler? Despite, the experience or the lack of experience, therefore, I think just the fact that Spencer can be a little more mobile, stretch a play a little more, potentially have a little more zip in some passes. I think that maybe you start to poke and prod if the Saints eliminate themselves from playoff contention. If you got a chance, if you got an inkling of hope, throw Derek Carr out there. Let's see what happens. And throwing Derek Carr out there instantly can maybe help you out in the Devontae Adams race, which, by the way, I just don't see how the Saints get him. By the way, we got Devontae Adams' jersey right here, so I'm not going to try to juju you, and I'm not going to try to act like it's not going to happen. It could happen. I'm wondering, though, how, as an elite wide receiver, when you're trying to get out of a situation that you're not interested in being in, do you go get in another one? You just had your reunion with Derek Carr, and it didn't go the way you thought. Matter of fact, he got cut and went to a whole different team. And now you're in a situation where, look, if you rekindle it and you retry it, maybe it works. The Saints could be a few pieces away from being really, really good. The beginning of the season was promising, and I'm sure they just got to iron out some things, and a couple of injuries have been kind of prohibiting them. But it's a worrisome skid. 4 games. Yeah, you're playing tougher opponents, but 2 divisional losses. You lose to the Chiefs. And then, by the way, their next game's on a Thursday. You're going to have a short week. It'll be very, very interesting. I don't know if the Saints are going to be able to turn it around. Cannot lie. Our next live stream will be live Wednesday at 1 p.m. on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button so you do not miss it. We'll be giving you a Heisman update, breaking down the odds, telling you who I think will potentially be the Heisman. Hey, we predicted it last year. You never know. We can go 2 for 2. We're going to get kind of dive into Arkansas's roster, their depth chart, talk about their key players, and more. Maybe a game plan, maybe a couple pieces of news, maybe a couple exclusive updates here and there. But this has been the Verdin Verdict, our Monday live stream, 1 p.m. Wednesday, 1 p.m. Be there. Friday will be on previewing the LSU Arkansas game at 3:30 with our guy G Sports. Hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Hit the thumbs up on your way out. Y'all have a good one.